Hey guys, Long Live Games Guy here, and this review is very late, but I have a good reason for it. Okay, so I actually saw this movie back in like January 5th or something like that. So this is again very late review. I apologize, and I've been saying for a few weeks now that I would have this review out, and it hasn't been out. Again, I just want to apologize, but I have been working. Not only working on schoolwork, but also I have been working on two other reviews for you guys. I have, so this year, you guys are going to get this review, a review for Raising Dion, seasons 1 and 2, and you're going to get a review for the Book of Boba Fett. So, I have been working on those reviews at the same time. Also, I've been watching those shows, crap like that. I've also waiting for the Book of Boba Fett to finish. I've been doing all of this stuff, and plus on top of schoolwork. So, sorry guys that this is late, but let's get into the review. And before I start off, I'm just going to say right now, spoilers all over this review. All over this review. I don't think it's possible for me to talk about this film. You know what? I'll say a quick little something before I talk about this review. Let me just give my grade early, so that those who haven't seen the movie yet for some reason, can just get what I know and go, and get what I thought and go. Okay. This movie is an A plus. Yeah, right off the bat, A plus. I freaking loved this movie. I freaking loved it. Like, I do have problems with it, but I don't feel like any of those problems. Is enough to make me dislike the movie any less, because this movie was just fantastic. This was a great movie, and yeah, those are my spoiler-free thoughts. Let's get into spoilers and the actual review. Okay, spoilers starting now. Okay, before I actually talk about this movie, let me just share my opinion on this MCU Spider-Man trilogy, right? Okay, Homecoming, I thought was okay. I thought it was just okay. I thought the best part by far from the whole movie was the Vulture. But, Spider-Man, how do I say this? Spider-Man didn't really feel like Spider-Man. It felt like Spider-Boy, pretty much, like a teenager. Which he is, and, makes sense, but I just didn't find myself enjoying it that much. So I thought Spider-Man Homecoming was only okay. Spider-Man Far From Home was a little bit better. Again, best part was the villain. And I didn't really, how do I say this? In some ways, I think Far From Home is like almost kind of worse than Homecoming, but it's not. I do enjoy Far From Home better, but it's just like the amount of comedy, of unnecessary comedy that was used in Far From Home was just, it was just distracting. Right? Like, I didn't find myself enjoying much. Like, anyone remember that scene where Nick Fury was trying to talk to Peter and people kept knocking on the door, and that scene went on for like 5 years? Like, it was so long for no reason. And I was just in the theater like, ha ha ha, okay, let's move on from this joke now. Like, stuff like that. It was like stuff like that through the entire movie that just got me like, But, so the first two movies, needless to say, I have not been too impressed by the MCU Spider-Man movies, like, so far. Like, this is the first one. Like, this is the first. No Way Home is the first MCU Spider-Man movie where I'm like, that is a great, fantastic movie. My gosh, do I want to watch it again? That goes up there. That's up there, man. That is up there with the Spider-Man. That's up there, bro. To be fair, guys, I think this film is up there with Spider-Man 2. That's how good this film is. Like, it is so good, and it's not just because, it's not just because it has Toby, Andrew in it as well, which I will talk about later. Because again, it's not just because they bring in everybody back, right? Like this is like the Smash Bros. Ultimate of well, almost the Green Goblins are here. Not my bad. The two Harrys aren't here. So yeah, but apart from them, pretty much everybody is here. You got Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. You got Jamie Foxx's Electro. Shoot, I just forgot his name. The guy playing Doctor Octopus. I forgot his name. Uh, you got him back. Like you got all the villains and all the heroes from the previous movie returning and crap like that, and it's cool and crap. But I'm going to talk about all that stuff later. But the one thing I want to talk about right now is that it's not just good because of that. It's good because this is finally the film where I'm like, okay, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is Spider-Man. You feel me? Like, I feel like this is the film where he gets to become a hero. Right? Like, he gets to, by himself, become a hero. This movie really delves into the psyche of Tom Holland Spider-Man and stuff like that, and it's super interesting, man. It's super interesting. Now, I will say, Tom Holland, not Tom Holland. Tom Holland's Peter. He really could have avoided this whole movie if he just asked Doctor Strange for people to forget about Mysterio. I mean, if you just ask them, or at least the tape, or at least the freaking tape, or forget what he said, or I'm pretty sure with all of that, that would have taken care of everything. But whatever, movie had to happen. So, but as I was saying, the decision Tom Holland's Spider-Man makes at the end with, what if everybody forgets me and crap like that, and the fact, and I'll tell you all the scene that made me freaking be like, he is Spider-Man. He is Spider-Man. It's I don't know if it's not, probably not the very last scene, but it's one of the ending scenes when he sees, everybody's forgot about him already, and he sees MJ and Ned at the cafe, and he's contemplating. You can see him contemplating, like, should I remind her? But then he decides not to. He decides not to, man. He decides to just take the coffee and walk away. And at that scene, that is when I was like, oh my gosh, he has finally become Spider-Man. It gave me Spider-Man PS4 vibes. And you remember the end of Spider-Man PS4 when Aunt May dies, and there's that little moment. I mean, it's a little moment, but it's so huge at the same time when, Peter grabs. But he's literally about to just cure Aunt May, but then, he remembers that, if he cures Aunt May, if he uses the antidote on Aunt May, he'll pretty much be killing everybody else. And so he decides not to do it. He almost does it, but then he decides to put it down and crap like that. That, again, it reminded me of that moment, and I'm like, yes, this is a Spider-Man. This is a Spider-Man. I freaking love what they did with Tom Holland Spider-Man here. And the weird part is that this is the same person who wrote and directed the previous two Spider-Man films. And that's so weird to me, because this one is so much better, and the others are so mediocre. I wouldn't say necessarily mediocre, but the others they're just okay. Like, they're just so, like, okay, well, nothing impressive. They're nothing impressive. And then he just randomly comes out the ball with dang near the best Spider-Man film ever made. Gracious. Like this film is so good. It's so good. And they really, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is really put through trials and tribulations throughout this entire movie, and that's what I love. It challenges him. This movie has a lot of comedy, but it isn't overly jokey like Far From Home. Like Far From Home, it all apart from when Mysterio like really decided to turn up, it almost felt like too jokey. I'm like, okay, well this is just a comedy at this point. It's a comedy that's trying too hard, at least in my opinion. And there's funny moments in this too, but when it gets serious, and that's what I love about it. That's what I love about it. Aunt May's death and crap like that, and his reaction to it was also incredible. How he was just looking at J. Jonah Jameson criticize him, on the TV, on the big screen and crap like that, in the rain, and it's pouring down on him and stuff like that, and he's just contemplating his failure. Also the scene where Toby and Andrew are trying to they're being like, okay, listen, you cannot back down on your beliefs. I know you're angry, but you cannot back down on your beliefs. And man, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, next I want to talk about Andrew. I want to talk about Andrew Garfield, because this is my second favorite thing this movie did. It made me want, and I want y'all to hear this. Because this is very, 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 very impressive on the movie's part. It made me want an Amazing Spider-Man 3. It actually made me want an Amazing Spider-Man 3, yo. Actually, I'm being 100% serious. This movie, seeing Andrew Garfield in this movie, made me want an Amazing Spider-Man 3. That is a sentence I never thought I'd say. Honestly, that is a sentence I never thought I'd say. Because I don't think I've talked about this on the channel before. Actually, I haven't. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is one of my least favorite superhero films, and I legitimately consider it one of the worst superhero films ever made, yo. Literally consider it one of the worst, and I don't think there's much debate behind it. I could do a whole, if y'all want, I can do a whole freaking Amazing Spider-Man 2 freaking rant, because I still could, even despite seeing Andrew in this movie. Listen, seeing Andrew in this movie and how good he is in this movie does not mean that movie's still not freaking abysmal. But we're talking about the good Andrew, film, But actually, let me bring up something. I never thought that Andrew Garfield was a bad Spider-Man. I thought he was actually a pretty good Spider-Man. I probably had the attitude, the mood, the voice and crap like that. I just didn't think it was a good Peter Parker. And Andrew Garfield had to work with Mark Webb and his garbage script and directing. His directing isn't bad, but his writing is terrible. Bro, this movie not only made me want an Amazing Spider-Man 3, it actually made Gwen's death in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 more effective. Let me tell you the scene that did it. When Andrew was catching MJ, and then he successfully caught her, right? He saved her, and he just has that moment where he's just standing there with MJ in his arms and crap like that, and he's like he's on the brink of tears because he's just like, why couldn't I do this for Gwen and crap like that. It is so emotional and sad, and not much is said or anything, bro. But you just know what he's thinking about. Nothing is even, Gwen's stuff not even brought up in that moment, but you just know by just looking at his face and just looking at the situation and knowing his past that you just know exactly what he's thinking about. It's great storytelling. Fantastic. That is the scene that did it for me. That is the scene I'm like, okay, I want Amazing Spider-Man 3. Andrew really sells this. He made, like, they keep bringing up Gwen's death, but every time you just feel the emotion, and that's so impressive because I know a lot of people actually like was really sad. Like even people who trashed the movie admit that Gwen Stacy's death is sad. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be cold-hearted, but I didn't feel the same way. I just thought it was stupid, like everything else in the movie. I thought it was stupid how they tried to randomly shoehorn this plot line in, this little story and crap like that. And also the fact that I didn't really care about Gwen in the first place. She literally got herself in that situation. I mean, if she just stayed home, or I mean, stayed in that, like, I don't know, street or whatever, she would have been fine and would have never died. It's just yeah. I just found that death really dumb. But this movie, it really sells it. Even though I found it dumb, I still like kind of felt bad in retrospect because he sells it in this movie. You really feel how much it impacted him. And it like wanted me to. I like wanted to see like. I wanted to see what happens after the main Spider-Man 2 now. Like, I actually want to see what happens now. Because I want to know what his life was after, because he's describing his life after. He's like, yeah, it's like, ever since Gwen died, I kind of lost my motivation. I'm like, dang, I kind of want to see that. Like, I'm not going to lie, I kind of want to see that. And then, like, the movie is just, it's such good writing. It's such good writing. It's really, really, really good. Like, just the fact that they managed to, like, just redeem his Spider-Man, like, almost, it would seem like almost effortlessly, was freaking awesome. And let me talk about my boy, Tobey Maguire. Oh, it's so nice to see him again, man. It's so nice to see him again. It's so nice to see him again, bro. Him and freaking Andrew talking about their back problems. That scene got me rolling like actual uncontrollable laughter when they were fixing their back problems. That was an amazing scene. But like Toby, man, like it's so nice to see him again, man. Like it's so nice to see him again. It's so nice to see him again, man. Listen, that's the Spider-Man I grew up on. Okay, everybody else is like, oh Andrew, oh Tom. Nah, Toby was first. Toby was the first, and he was freaking, he was freaking awesome in this movie, man. Like it's like he never quit playing. It's like he never quit playing Spider-Man. Hikey. It's like he never quit playing Spider-Man. It's so nostalgic, man. It's so nostalgic. Like they were talking about their past experiences and crap like that, and something else I just want to talk about. All the Spider-Man they have amazing chemistry. Like amazing chemistry. They all feel like they belong in the same movie. Like it's so good. It's so good chemistry, man. It's incredible. Like, their backs and forths and their jokes with the, oh, what Peter are you talking about? Stuff like that. It's so cool. It's so freaking cool. It's so cool to just see them all together, man. Like, even Andrew, whose movies who's like the main Spider-Man 1, I don't hate, but I definitely don't feel like it's good. I definitely don't feel like it's good at all. But just seeing him in this movie, man, like it almost makes me want to, like, it makes me want to like those movies, man, because just for him, man, it makes me want Amazing Spider-Man 3. Please give my boy Andrew another chance. Please give my boy Andrew another chance, bro. He deserves it. Yeah, man. But Tobey Maguire is just freaking awesome in this movie, man. He's just awesome. When he stops, Tom Holland from killing Green Goblin, the crap like that, it's freaking awesome. It's freaking awesome, man. Like, and you just get that, and he just has that look in his eye. I'm like, it's so cool. It's so cool. Speaking of Green Goblin, let's talk about the villains. Let's talk about the people on the villain side real quick. Okay, okay, so here's where some issues I come up, right? Okay. I have an issue. I have to problem with this film. Um, Sandman's motivation for going evil at the end doesn't make any sense if you know anything about if you know anything about his character in the movies. Because in Spider-Man 3, Sandman was pretty much doing everything he was doing for his daughter. You know, everything he was doing was to get money so he could, fund his child's health care. Right? Like, that is why he was doing everything in the movie, right? That was his whole motivation behind everything he did, was to get enough money to help his daughter, fund his daughter's treatment. And in this movie, he's like, okay, I want to go home to my daughter, and crap like that. You know, I want to go home to my daughter. I want to be cured. You know, blah blah blah. And then, randomly when the villains betray the heroes and crap like that, Sandman is all of a sudden with them, or go turning against the Spider-Man. And I don't understand why. I haven't really found a good reason for it either. I feel like it's just kind of they were like, well, Sandman's a villain, and we need him to fight. we need him to fight. So I guess just make him a villain. I guess just make him randomly team up with, or not even team up, I guess, but fighting against the Spider-Man. Even though he doesn't really have a reason to. He just wants to get home to his daughter. Like, he doesn't really want like all to be all powerful or anything. So I don't really get, why he joined the villain side or started fighting against Spider-Man at all. I expected him to stay with the good guys. Actually, I expected him to like help them fight, but guess I was wrong. Okay, so that's like one of my, so that's like, I think it's like my only problem. At least I can think of right now. That was like my main problem with the movie, is that Sandman's motivation for joining or fighting against Spider-Man wasn't like explained really all that well. And I hear people complaining about how the Lizard didn't have anything to do, and I do feel like that's true. But let me tell you why that's not a problem for me. That's because, listen, we don't need to be focusing that much on the Lizard anyway, bro. Listen. I know people like to pretend, and nowadays it's kind of like the prequels after the sequel trilogy, right? People all of a sudden pretend that everything from that era is freaking golden, right? Everyone pretends that, my gosh, the prequels are amazing. They're amazing, man. They were, but we judged them too harshly. I'm like, no. The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones still suck. Those are so terrible movies. Revenge of the Sith is great, but those first two, no. Those first two are, no, they're still not good. They're still not freaking good. Same thing here where people like all of a sudden, turning back, roasting the glasses, talking about, my gosh, bro, like, the Amazing Spider-Man films were so good. I'm like, no, they weren't. No, they definitely weren't. The Lizard in the first Amazing Spider-Man really didn't have anything to do. He could have had a good character, but literally they deleted all of his, like, high key. They deleted every single scene that could have potentially made the Lizard or Dr. Connors an interesting character in those movies. They literally deleted the scenes. Like, you don't believe me? Look it up. They deleted every single scene that could have made him interesting. So yeah. Long story, what I'm trying to say is, the Lizard isn't really an interesting character to begin with. So I'm not mad that they didn't spend a lot of time on him, like, because he's not really interesting at all. But my boy Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin, bruh. My boy Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin, bro. He still has it, bro. He still has it, bro. Over 10 years, over a decade later, and he still has it, bro. Green Goblin in this movie had me sick. I'm like, bruh, he is so, the way they did him was masterful, man. Like, it was just freaking great. It's incredible. He's in direct conflict with Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and that's because he kills Aunt May and crap like that. Which was a really sad scene. You know, he kills Aunt May. They have this really cool. They have that really cool scene where Tom Holland, you know, his spider sense is going off, and they have this really cool shot where, you know, he's like always centered in the middle of the screen, but like everything's moving around him. It's hard to describe. It's hard to describe, but they have a really cool shot. Um, and my goodness, like, and they, you know, the music was the music was rising and crap like that. You know, it gave me Dark Knight vibes. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's about to happen? What's about to happen? And then, you know, he all of a sudden webs freaking Norman's hand, and Norman's like, what are you doing? And Norman's like, it's okay, I don't want to be cured. I don't want to be cured. I'm gonna get the freak out of here. We're getting the freak out of here, bro. I'm gonna be free. But like, just his performance, man, it's still incredible all these years later. It's literally, again, just like Toby, it's like he never stopped playing the character. It's like he never stopped. He never stopped. Like, he still has it all these years later. He still has the same charm, the same, you know, just amount of threatening. You know, he's just freaking threatening in this movie, man. He's Green Goblin's a whole menace, and I freaking love every second of it. I love every second of it, man. Willem Dafoe put on an amazing performance in this movie. He put on an amazing, everything from his voice to his facial expressions, because for like all of the movie, Green Goblin doesn't have he doesn't have the mask on. Like, he destroys the suit, you know, early in the movie. So like, you know, Green Goblin, you know, for the majority is just, you know, Willem Dafoe's face and crap like that. But like, you know, he uses facial expressions and crap like that. It's literally like he's wearing the mask without wearing the mask. Like the way his facial expressions and the way he just expresses everything, like, it's so good. It's so good. I freaking love it. It's so good. Yeah, man. What else do I got to talk about? Oh, yes, do want to talk about this. I feel like all the side characters are better in this. I feel like every single side character is improved. I feel like Aunt May is better. I feel like Happy is better. Ned and MJ are for sure better. I definitely found them way better, because, you know, one of the things I'm most annoyed about the MCU, you know, Spider-Man films, is the side characters. I never liked MJ. I kind of like Ned. Aunt May was, well, she was there. Like, Aunt May really became a character in this, and so did MJ, and so did Ned. Like, really, everybody felt like they actually became a character, and not just, you know, the love interest and the jokey one and the other jokey one and the other, like, you know, in the other films are kind of like comedic relief only, and MJ was, you know, the love interest, who's also kind of funny. You know, they have awkward moments and crap like that. It's like, oh, it's like, oh, okay. I mean, it's better chemistry than Andrew and I mean, not Andrew. Andrew and Gwen. You know, Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy from the Spider-Man 2 movies. Better chemistry than that, but, you know, not really, still not really much there. In this movie, all of them are way better. All of them are so much better. And I haven't even talked about Doctor Strange yet. Doctor Strange, all the stuff with him is really cool in this movie. Is really, really cool in this movie. The way he beat him was questionable, I guess. It's not really a problem. I just don't really know how I feel about it, but I guess it doesn't make sense, since, at least in my brain, mathematics is crazier and more confusing than magic will ever be. So yeah. Oh yeah, I guess a kind of another problem I have with the movie is I did feel like the whole magic ring thing was kind of convenient. I do feel it was kind of like, you know, convenient, like, okay, well, he says one Peter, and then it starts bringing in people from other universes. Don't really understand how that worked, because, like, I'm pretty sure he had in mind Tom Holland But for some reason, brought in Toby and Andrew. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, they need to be in the movie. They need to be in the movie. I get it. I 100% get it. I 100% accept it. I'm just saying that I just feel like it was a little convenient. But again, it's not a major problem. It doesn't bug me or anything, you know. So yeah, man, Jamie Foxx, I also feel like was way better. His Electro was way better in this movie, like so much better, so much better, man. Alfred Molina. I just remembered Doctor Octopus actor name. D- Alfred Molina also great in this movie. I definitely love what they did with him, you know. And when they like cured him and he was like, you know, back to normal crap like that, like it was so heartwarming. It was so heartwarming, man. Like it was high key heartwarming because it's like a story that it, it's like a story that you know, that just hasn't been resolved, even though it was resolved. But it's like giving him a happy ending. It's giving him a happy ending, which I freaking loved. You know, it's giving Spider-Man 2 Doc Ock a happy ending. Okay, yeah. So this movie's an absolute A plus for me. But before I go, let me say one thing. Where do I rank this in Spider-Man movies? Because there is a lot. There is a lot of Spider-Man movies at this point, and we have some really. This one definitely jumped up in the ranks. So let me see where I put them. Okay, so let me start from the bottom. Main Spider-Man 2 all the way to the bottom. Main Spider-Man, yeah, Main Spider-Man 1 above that. Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3, Homecoming, Far From Home, Spider-Man 1. Hold on, I'm just trying to make sure I don't forget any films. Spider-Man 1, Spider-Verse, and I think I just have Spider-Man 2. Hold on, guys. Let me make sure. Let me double check I haven't missed any films. Okay, I haven't missed any so far. Okay. Spider-Man 2 in this film. I think this is what it comes across. Okay, so in my mind, right, in my opinion, Spider-Man 2 has held the crown for best Spider-Man movie for freaking years, right? I freaking adore the freak out of the movie. Like I feel like it's one of the best, if not the best, superhero movie ever made, in my opinion. Maybe. I'm gonna say No Way Home is better. I'm gonna say Spider-Man 2, for the first time in years, it is taking a back seat. It's God of his throne. Respectfully, God of his throne. Respectfully, to No Way Home. I feel like what this movie managed to accomplish was impressive. Was so impressive. It was so impressive what it was able to accomplish. It was able to not only do what it was not only able to balance its villains, but it was able to balance its villains. It was able to balance its heroes, which there were a lot, and keep a good story. Because here's the problem with most Spider-Man films, most of them. Spider-Verse is alleviated from this problem. Whenever they try to do too much, they fall apart. Spider-Man. This happened to Spider-Man 3. This happened to the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Whenever they try to do way too much, they fall apart. And it just becomes a bad movie. That is the unfortunate truth. This is the first. I mean, this is like the second since Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse did do a lot too. This is the second movie. This is the first live action. This is the first live action Spider-Man movie to do a lot in its movie and also keep a good story at the same time. And I feel like that's freaking impressive. That is freaking impressive. Um, yeah, I gotta say this is an incredible film. A+, really good. Side note: if you watched Venom 2, you wasted your time. You wasted your freaking time. But hey, I didn't see Venom 2, so I'm not mad. Okay, and yeah, guys, uh, that's it. I don't know when you're gonna get this, but yeah. Have a good day. Long live Game Sky out.